Hello, hello, and welcome to the channel if you're new here, or welcome back if you are not. My name is Kayla and I'm the owner and lead wedding planner here at Transformed Events, where we help DIY couples to ball out on a budget. So I'm going to start this video off a little bit differently than I normally do. I'm going to start with the story time because this story just really got me. This literally happened today, this morning, like a couple hours ago. And so I want to tell the story. It's going to sound like it does not relate to wedding planning at first, but I promise you it will. So stick around. It's going to be great. So this morning, right, me and my husband were sharing a car right now. And so I had to take him to work because I needed to go somewhere a little bit later today. So I took him to work. I pulled back into my neighborhood and I parked. And then I see a dog run past my door. So I'm like, I thought a little bit of it, but I'm not really thinking that much of it because my neighborhood is a mess, y'all, okay? It's a mess. And so in my neighborhood, people just let their dogs run around all the time with no leash. They leave their dogs outside. Like, it's just craziness, okay? So I really didn't think that much of it. And there was a guy a few doors down standing outside of his house. And then he went in the house. So I was like, okay, so is this his dog or not? So I just sat in the car a little bit, just assessing the situation just to make sure I was not putting myself in danger, okay? So then I see a lady come out of the same house and she goes over to her car and the dog is like following her, sniffing her. And I'm like, okay, that's definitely their dog. But then, so I get out the car and then the guy comes out of his house again, but this time with a little girl. And so the dog comes over and starts sniffing the little girl and he scoops her up real quick and he's saying like, get away, no, get away. And I'm like, okay, so that's not their dog. So now I'm just thinking like, okay, so whose dog is this? Because there's no one else around. So I just sit there for a couple more minutes, just to, again, assessing the situation. So the dog runs down the street like in the opposite direction. So I was like, okay, I'll be fine to go inside my house. It's only like 10 steps anyway. So I get out the car, I go in my house, and then I immediately go upstairs to my upstairs window to just keep watching the dog. So I have unofficially declared myself as the neighborhood dog catcher because there's a lot of stray dogs in this neighborhood. And have I ever been successful at catching a stray dog? Absolutely not. But I have tried to catch every single stray dog. And I also volunteer at an animal shelter a few blocks away. So I have a good knowledge of what to do in this situation, right? So I was like, okay, I'm going to go assess the situation from the window, look at the dog's behavior a little bit more, and then determine from there if I'm going to go try to catch this dog or not. So I'm watching the dog, and every time someone like walks up or walks near or something, or walks near a person that's going to their car, it just sniffs them. It's not showing any signs of aggression. Like everything is cool, okay? So I'm just watching and I'm like, okay, this dog's obviously not scared of people like a lot of stray dogs, but I could clearly see that it didn't have a collar or tag. So I'm thinking maybe it just slipped out of someone's backyard because it's obviously not scared of people. Obviously doesn't have, it clearly doesn't seem like it has a history of, poor relationship with humans. And it's just fine. Like it's just being a normal dog running around, chasing its tail, sniffing people. So I'm like, okay, I am going to go out here and try to catch this dog. So like I told you guys, I'm the unofficial dog catcher, so I have all the supplies. I have a leash, I have a collar, I have treats, I have a toy. So I'm getting all my supplies ready to go. I go out of my house and I'm walking down the sidewalk looking for the dog in the direction that I last saw it going in. And so I'm looking and I'm not seeing it. So I'm keep walking further, still not seeing it. I'm like, where's this dog at? So I pull out my whistle, which is a special dog whistle that it's like, the frequency that they can hear that we can't really hear that much. So I pull out my dog whistle and I'm blowing it and I'm like, where is the dog? Looking all around, nowhere to be found. But then I see this cop car. And let me tell you also that this is not out of the ordinary for this cop car to just be hanging out in my neighborhood because this is really not that great of a neighborhood. So there's cop cars in the neighborhood all the time. So I didn't really think that much of it. But then I was thinking, maybe someone called him about the dog. So he sees me in his rearview mirror and he does like a quick K-turn. And then as soon as I look at the front of his car, I see that the dog is by this dumpster on the left. So he does a quick K-turn and puts his car in front of me and the dog. And he was like, you need to get out of here. Like, this dog is aggressive. It's not safe, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, I was watching this dog and it seemed fine. He was like, no, it was lunging at kids earlier. Like, it's not safe. You need to get out of here. And so I'm like, okay, well, do you have someone coming to, pick it up? And he's like, well, animal control doesn't pick it up anymore. You have to catch it, and then they just come pick it up, or they don't catch the dog anymore. And I was like, yeah, I know. I have caught them many times, and it's just, first of all, this is a soapbox, but it's ridiculous that the animal control does not control animals anymore. How crazy is that? Like, please make that make sense. You're telling me I have to catch the dog myself for you to be able to come pick it up? You're not going to catch the dog? Like, it's crazy. So anyway, he was like, yeah, I just have been sitting here trying to figure out what to do, blah, blah, but I called someone else was on the way, blah, blah. I was like, okay. He was like, but you need to get out of here now. So I was like, okay. I turn around, I start walking back towards my house, and then he starts yelling like, watch out, look out. And then I'm like, okay, so maybe he thinks the dog is running towards me. I don't hear, because this is pavement, so you can clearly hear like the dog's footprints on the pavement. And from what I can tell, the dog's not running towards me, but he's making it seem like the dog is about to attack me, okay? So he kept saying, watch out. He kept saying, run. I'm like, bro, I'm not running. Do you know nothing about dogs? If you run, a dog is going to chase you. No matter if it's your dog, no matter if you know the dog, it's a friendly dog, it's a stray dog, it's an aggressive dog, whatever it is. If you start running, a dog is going to chase you. So that's like number one thing that they say at the shelter. Do not run from a dog. So I'm like, okay, I'm not about to start running, but he's yelling at me. He turns on his sirens to scare the dog away. So I jump on the top of a hood of a car. So now I'm on top of somebody's random car. I'm feeling so bad about this too. So he starts like backing up and pushing the dog with his car in another direction. Not literally like physically pushing the dog, but just moving his car in the direction of the dog in the opposite direction of me so that the dog can go away. And he's like, make a break for it, run. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I jump off the top of this car. Literally, I was like Spider-Man. I kid you not. I jump off the top of this car, and I used to run track. So I'm booking it down the street. And there's these stairs on the sidewalk because I live on a hill, and so there's these stairs that just drop down, and I'm just like jumping across the stairs, skipping steps, like I'm just booking it as fast as I can. I pull out my key while I'm running to hurry up and get my key out, put it in my door, open it, and then get in my house and slam the door shut. So now you're probably thinking, okay, Kayla, cool story, but what does this have to do with my wedding? Like, why did you waste your time telling me all this? Let me tell you why. And it's because imagine the dog as your wedding, imagine you as me, and imagine the police officer as your friends and family, as people you know, people that you may or may not be inviting to the wedding, just others, okay? So in this scenario, I'm sitting here in my house reliving this scenario and just thinking like, this is not what I was trained to do. This is not what I knew was the correct way to react in this situation. But I let this officer influence me into doing something that I knew was wrong, that I knew was not the right course of action, because he was just making it seem like it was such a big deal. He was making it seem like I needed to be worried for my safety. He was making it seem like, my life was at stake. And so going back to the dog as your wedding, right? Thinking about this as like these people are trying to tell you all these other things that you should be doing with your wedding. All these other, oh, you shouldn't be getting that food. Oh, people are still going to be hungry. Oh, you shouldn't get that vendor. I've heard bad things about them. Oh, why are you getting that dress? That doesn't really fit your style. That doesn't really fit your form. Saying all these things that I'm sure I don't have to remind you of all the things that people have said to you at this point, because for some reason, people's personalities just really start to get crazy when it's time for a wedding. So, anywho, imagine when I'm sitting in my house reflecting on this and I'm just feeling so much regret, and I'm like, why did I let that officer convince me to do something that I knew was wrong? Like, why did I do that? Because I know that dog was not aggressive. And how do I know that? It's because when I'm replaying this situation in my mind, when I was on top of the car, the dog just looked at me and then walked away. If that dog was actually trying to attack me, and if it was serious about wanting to bite me and wanting to eat my face off, you know what it would have been doing? It would have been barking at me. It would have tried to jump on the hood. And mind you, I'm on this little itty bitty car. This is like a Nissan. So it's not a big truck at all. I'm not high up off the ground at all. And this dog is like 75 pounds. So this dog could have easily jumped on the hood of that car and got me if it wanted to get me. But clearly from that interaction, it did not want to get me. And so it just saw me on the hood of the car and walked away. And so now I'm thinking, like, why did I let myself get punked like that? Like, not by the dog, but by the officer, because I knew what was right in that situation. I have the training to be able to go look at stray dogs and catch them and whatever because of the shelter. And so this officer clearly did not have that same training. So why would I allow him to be telling me what to do and then allow myself to get punked and then have to run home and be sweating and it's 7 a.m. in the morning, right? And so when it comes to your wedding, like, you really, one of my favorite things to say, like, it's not really a quote, it's just like one of those sayings, is stand 10 toes down. So what does that mean if you don't know? It means to be confident in what you know. It means to stand on your word. It means to, like, if you think about it physically, right, we have 5 toes. And so if your feet are flat on the ground, then you're firm, you're immovable, you're unshakable, right? And you're putting your body weight really in your toes and kind of the balls of your feet, because that's where you can have the stability at. Versus if you're on your heels, then it's hard to be stable. You know what I'm saying? And so I love that phrase because it's like, be confident in what you know. You know yourself best. You know your partner best. And you know what you want and what you do not want for this wedding and the way that you want it to be planned, the people that you want to be there, the food that you want to have, the decorations that you want to have, whatever it is, like, you know yourself best. And so don't allow these outside voices to keep coming in and telling you, oh, don't do this. Oh, don't do that. Oh, I had this at my wedding. Oh, you should do this too. Oh, I didn't have that. And, really didn't turn out well, or I paid this, so you really should only be paying this too. All of these opinions, right? Because at the end of the day, you know you. And at the end of the day as well, this is a lot of time what I find to be people giving these opinions or people making these comparisons is when it's from a completely different time than right now in 2024. And so it could be, your mom or your mother-in-law, or whoever it is that got married 30 years ago, saying that they paid $3,000 for 300 people and that was everything that they had to pay for their wedding. And that is not working in 2024, okay? So it's a different time. Inflation is different. The trends are different. Not that you have to follow trends or anything like that, but that's just what I'm saying is, like, the comparison is not the same, and their personalities and what they were okay with is not the same, right? Maybe they were okay with just people potlucking it and bringing dishes and figuring it out, and maybe you're not okay with that, right? So maybe you do want to have, maybe you don't have a whole full, catered meal. Maybe you just have drop catering from, a barbecue place or something like that. But the times are different. And so you cannot keep allowing yourself to be swayed and moved by all these different people's opinions. And you have to really go back to what it is that you know about yourself, what it is that you discussed with your partner that you guys want and don't want for your wedding day, and stand strong on those convictions. And so sometimes this might mean hard stuff, right, that you're going to have to do. What does that look like? That maybe means setting boundaries with friends and family members. Maybe you've never had to do that before. Maybe you haven't felt comfortable enough to do that before. Maybe that looks like that. Maybe that means uninviting some people that you are just really butting heads with at this moment and you really can't see a way forward in this relationship. Maybe it means if someone is paying for something that they have very strong opinions about, maybe that means then you should not take their money and figure out a different way to pay for, whatever it is that they were going to pay for, because maybe having their opinion in the pot is not worth the headache and the money and the stress and whatever. So I know this was a little bit of a different format, but this, you can clearly tell the passion in my voice because I am just mad at myself right now because of that situation. And I don't want that to happen to you on your wedding day. I don't want you to look back after your wedding day and be mad at yourself for the decisions that you made because they were not decisions that you wanted to make, but because you were influenced by other people to be making those decisions. So take some time this week to really just reevaluate how you're planning your wedding, reevaluate your priorities in this process, and reevaluate if this is the wedding that you're planning for you, or if it's a wedding that you're planning for auntie, grandma, mom, sister, friend, whoever, okay? So I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know down in the comments what are some opinions that people have been saying to you, or anything like that, that is just getting you annoyed, or that is just flat out wrong. I would love to hear some of them in the comments, so let me know down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.